the Pulwama attack on Thursday, which has claimed more than 37 lives of CRPF troops in Jammu and Kashmir, has perhaps been the biggest attack in recent memory, perhaps the big one after 2001. And it has shaken not just the administration, the security forces, but the nation. And one doesn't know how this is going to impact the relationship between India and Pakistan, which is already at a situation where it cannot be retrieved, and it could further deteriorate, as we can see. But what are the ramifications? What caused this attack, and what the Jaish-e-Mohammed is looking at in Jammu and Kashmir, and also the local element in the suicide attack that killed so many people. To do an assessment of the situation, we have with us Lieutenant General DS Hooda, who was Northern Army commander not very long ago. In fact, he was the main architect of the surgical strikes in September 2016. And therefore, let's get a sense from him what exactly happened and what we should look for in the coming days and weeks. Then, Luda, thank you very much for your time. I think this is something we are speaking at a time when the tragedy has struck not just the CRPF, but I think the entire nation. And nobody would really imagine the mayhem that this attack has caused. What do you think, and why do you think this attack has come at this particular moment?
Nitin, actually, if we take a hard, realistic look at what's been happening in Kashmir, and let's look at the external part first.
Sure.
And in the last 3-4 years, we are seeing a steady deterioration in the situation, even along the borders. So cross-border firing is at an all-time high.
True.
Infiltration is continuing. Attacks on soldiers along the line of control, where there is direct Pakistan complicity, is carrying on.
Yeah.
So, should we have been surprised that such a thing would have been done via Pak-based? I think not. Of course, the scale is horrific. It's a huge loss of soldiers, but it was something I think that was going to happen. They were going to up the ante. We've seen that in the past. No change in situation. And similarly, what is happening internally, you are seeing greater radicalization, you are seeing increase in local recruitments. And while we look at these big incidents like, Uri attack,
Yeah.
is last year in 2018, we lost more soldiers than we did actually in 2016 when we had the Uri attack.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
it seems as if there is no change in the, ideology or the focus of the Pak Army and the ISI to carry on with these kind of activities and sort of up the ante.
It looks like that, but the point here is that you had mentioned it earlier. I remember in one of our conversations that since 2013, the focus of the attacks shifted on military installations and military convoys or military posts. And is that deliberate, you think?
Yes, it's absolutely deliberate. Prior to 2013-14, we used to talk about terrorists are avoiding contact with security forces, they are on the run.
Yeah.
But from 13-14 onwards, you started seeing direct attacks on even well-fortified garrisons. So you had an attack on a gun position at Mora,
Yeah.
which caused about 10 casualties. You've had Nagrota, Pathankot Air Base, Sunjwan Camp, Uri. I mean, so there is certainly an attempt to directly strike at military targets.
And why is that, you think? Because is that a deliberate change of strategy on the Pakistan Army's part or the ISI's part?
Certainly, because the numbers are not too many of terrorists. So, if they're going to remain on the sort of defensive, then their ability to do anything is that much limited. So, I think it's been a deliberate ploy that we need to start directly targeting security forces and military installations with whatever little strength they have and whatever little that they can infiltrate. Otherwise, how do you keep the sense that Kashmir is disturbed, Kashmir remains, sort of alive? And the
Right.
other thing is, the other thing, if you see, less this one which was done by a local militant,
Yeah.
most of these attacks on military installations has been carried out by teams trained, prepared in Pakistan and coming directly across the borders and hitting military installations. So you see all the attacks that have happened in Jammu region,
Yes.
Sunjwan, Samba, Pathankot. These were all teams which came in directly. The same thing with Uri. Teams infiltrated directly, specifically for a task to target military installations.
And very hardened and well trained, well equipped, the operatives. They could even be former military guys or special forces guys. That's the change in tactics I think they implemented, as we can see now. But looking at this particular the issue in this particular incident is the why. I mean, people have raised this question that why were 78 vehicles traveling in one go on a national highway which is crowded and which is vulnerable to attack. What is your sense?
See, my sense, Nitin, is the highway had been closed because of excessive snowfall. So you would have had a large number of CRPF people who were coming in after leave and would
Right.
have got into their transit camps in and around Jammu. So you would have collected a very large number of people. And obviously, units require soldiers to reach them as quickly as possible for the task that they have in hand.
Right.
And that's why uh, it was a larger convoy than usual. Uh, could they have done this slightly differently? Possibly, rather than putting everybody in one convoy, which apparently started at 3:30 in the morning, they could have had maybe smaller convoys leaving every 2 or 3 hours. Uh,
Yes.
but again, that is in hindsight. But the large number is because, the road had been blocked and they would have had a large number of people who had piled up in their transit camps.
True. But moving away from that particular aspect, what surprises me is that this local militant who's barely in his out of his teens, and clearly Jaish-e-Mohammed had trained him, had indoctrinated him, and had given him a lot of support with so much of explosives, which would have needed a lot of planning, coordination, and local support. Now, is that worrying?
Extremely worrying, Nitin. As I said, in the past, what we've seen is most of these high-profile attacks have actually been carried out by teams which are trained in Pakistan, mostly Pakistani, uh, operatives as part of that, and they were the ones who came and carried out these high-profile attacks. So, if you're going to have more and more locals who are indoctrinated to do this, one is it's much easier. You don't have to infiltrate. You're already there.
Yeah.
So if you have more and more youth indoctrinated in suicide attacks, again, it's a new phenomenon. We haven't seen too much of it in the past.
Sure.
I think it is a cause for worry, and then we need to see how to deal with these things. And
Yes.
same with the explosives, Nitin.
Correct.
100, 200, 300 kgs, nobody knows what the exact figures are.
Yes.
And a lot of people are saying it could have come from across the border, across the LC. I think there are two areas we need to look at.
Mm-hmm.
First is locally.
Right.
I know, Nitin, I was there. Locally, there is so much explosive within Kashmir. You've got tunnels being built, you've got a railway line being built, you've got roads being built, you've got dams being built.
Sure.
There is absolutely no dearth of explosive. We
Right.
need to see that is properly stored, properly accounted for, and no leakage.
Correct.
And the second is maybe in the cross-border trade, that's the option. I don't think people would have carried across so much explosive on their backs from the line of control.
Yeah, it's unlikely that so much quantity would have been carried, sort of lugging around in those difficult areas. So let the investigators now figure that out. But what is important to look at is the increasing boldness with which Jaish-e-Mohammed is now operating and attacking in Jammu and Kashmir. The last big attacks have all come by, I mean, Uri attack, of course, there was initially a confusion and then later it turned out it was LET. But JEM seems to be the flavor of the season as far as Pakistan Army and ISI is concerned.
Completely, Nitin, and I mean the brazenness with which they have announced that we have done this. You remember, as you said, there was confusion after the Uri attack because no terror organization actually stood up and accepted.
True.
Now you have an organization which is based in Pakistan, where the leadership is openly roaming around in Pakistan, and it is brazenly announcing that we are the ones who carried out this terror attack and killed so many of your soldiers. I think it's extreme provocation, and that, in fact, to me, puts more pressure on the government to now react, because here is an organization based in Pakistan which is saying, yes, we've done this to you.
Yeah, so what options does the government have really? Very limited, I guess.
Uh, I won't say limited, Nitin. It has to be a whole range of options. So uh, they've already announced some diplomatic steps like removing the MFN status. Obviously, they'll do more, in an appeal to obviously outlaw the Jaish and declare the leader as a global terrorist,
Yes.
but also to put some additional pressure on Pakistan to crack down on Jaish. Now that Jaish is completely accepted, some pressure on China, who's been, for whatever purposes, trying to stall this whole move to declare him as a global terrorist.
Right.
I also think they have no option but to do something in the military sphere, Nitin.
That's right, and that is where I think the circumstances in which we find ourselves right now, when we are very close to the elections. Also, the as you said, the government is under pressure. So the pressure will only increase as the days go by if no tangible results come out of these diplomatic steps that have been taken, and therefore. We'll have to wait and watch how it goes. I mean, we can go on speculating what the action could be, but it's ultimately the government which will have to decide, I guess.
I agree. You see, one more difference from Uri is that at least some of the opposition parties have come out and said, we will support whatever the government does.
Right.
So, there is a popular sort of movement. The political parties are all getting together. It's been a huge sort of, terrorist attack. I think the government will seriously look at, some kinetic options. What they do, how they adopt it, what are the advice given by the service chiefs. It's pointless to speculate because
Yeah,
they are.
exactly. No,
Yeah.
I don't even want to get there. But as a natural corollary, this also brings a lot of pressure on the Pakistani establishment, doesn't it? Because the world is now sort of almost everybody, including not China, maybe in such strong words, but almost everybody else has condemned it, expressed concern. So Pakistan will feel certainly isolated and under pressure.
Certainly, Nitin, and I may be wrong, but my sense is you will probably find Pakistan taking some concrete steps, at least to show the world, and probably against Jaish,
Yeah.
that here we are clamping down because earlier there was a sense of deniability. We don't know who's done this attack. We are not sure. I mean, this is all speculation that these are Pakistani-based terror outfits. Here you have the Jaish openly admitting it. So I,
Right.
I do see there will be pressure on Pakistan, and uh, I think you will see some movement from their side also in the next couple of days, acting against Jaish.
So that's some good news for India because, of course, the kinetic option can never be ruled out from Indian side. But one final question I have for you is there is also Afghanistan situation in the mix. Does this also complicate matters for all other countries like US, like Russia, like China, and even India? Because the Lashkar-e-Taiba seems to be sort of reined in by the Pakistani establishment, but Jaish is not. So clearly, there is probably this possibility that Jaish would still be protected by the Pakistani government because they see that as a strategic asset against India, while other steps are being taken or where the churn is happening in Afghanistan. Is that something that can come in play?
Surely, Nitin, because we saw in the past, Jaish is an organization which has actually been accused in the past of carrying out attacks against the Pakistani president himself. They were accused of, attacking Musharraf.
That's right.
But while some pressure was put on them, the fact that they serve Pakistan's purpose in Kashmir, so they've been allowed to do what they're doing. And of course, Afghanistan is a big churn because if you see the Americans want to move out from there, they want to pull out from there. Uh, they're definitely looking at Pakistan support to bring the Taliban onto the negotiating table. I think that also puts limits to how much pressure the Americans can actually put on Pakistan at this stage
That's
when they're looking at a quick exit from there.
true. So ultimately, I think India has to fight its own battle, and India will have to do it alone, and nobody else really would be helpful in what India needs to do kinetically or otherwise to punish Pakistan really and the terrorist groups based there.
Nitin, you hit the nail on the head. We have to look at our own national interest, see what we have to do. Somebody was asking me earlier, uh, will the international community permit India to do A, B, C, D? I said we have to look at our own national interest. I mean, at the end of the day, we are the ones who are actually suffering.
True.
I'm sure the government will, take some strong steps.
I think so, and I'm glad that you sort of look at it that way because the whole nation is outraged right now. The feelings are running very high and a lot of emotion involved because when you saw the initial visuals, I think it was horrific. I haven't seen such visuals after I think that Srinagar Assembly, I mean the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly being attacked in 2001. Perhaps you may have seen some more, but at least in my memory, that was the last such horrific visuals that really came across.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's true. Thank you very much, General Hooda. As usual, I would have liked to have had this chat under different circumstances, but thank you very much for your insights and your wisdom in looking at what the situation in Jammu and Kashmir is and how it's going to pan out. We are really grateful.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.